Barack Obama stands before a room of seniors addressing the pressing issues of healthcare and security when Ivanka Trump interrupts, throwing a personal jab about his birthplace. But then she drops a surprising hint about a private moment with Trump. One that might just explain a lot more than anyone expected. What happens next will leave you on the edge of your seat as Obama responds with calm strength, shifting the focus back to what truly matters. Watch till the end to see how this intense exchange unfolds. Barack Obama stood at the front of the room, his voice calm but powerful, as he addressed a group of people who had spent much of their lives building the foundations of the country. The seniors in the audience, some of whom were struggling with health problems, economic hardship, and the rising costs of healthcare, were listening carefully to every word. Obama wasn't there just to speak about policy. He was there to connect, to show them that he understood their struggles, and to remind them that they were not alone. Right now, our seniors face challenges that strike at the heart of their dignity and security, Obama began. His words were not just a statement of fact. They were a declaration of his commitment to fighting for them. Affordable medicine, accessible care, and respect for the sacrifices you've made must be our priority. This isn't about politics, he continued, his voice growing stronger. This is about humanity. You could feel the weight of the moment. This wasn't just another political speech. Obama wasn't talking about numbers, policies, or promises that could easily be brushed aside by the noise of everyday politics. He was speaking directly to people who had worked their whole lives, raised families, and now found themselves facing a system that was too often indifferent to their needs. He was talking about a group of Americans who had already given so much and now in their later years were seeing their dignity and security threatened by rising health care costs, the uncertainty of Social Security, and the increasing challenges of living on fixed incomes. Obama wasn't just pointing out problems, though. He was offering solutions. He spoke passionately about the need to reform the healthcare system to ensure that seniors had access to the care they deserved without fear of financial ruin. He talked about the importance of making sure that seniors didn't have to choose between paying for medicine and putting food on the table. For Obama, this wasn't just a political issue. It was a moral one. There was something about the way Obama spoke that made it clear he wasn't just reciting talking points. His words seemed to come from a deeper place, a place of genuine empathy and understanding. He wasn't a man who had simply studied these issues. He was a man who had listened, who had learned from the people who were living through these struggles every day. As he continued, Obama shared personal stories of seniors he had met in different parts of the country. He spoke about a grandmother who had to choose between filling her prescriptions and buying groceries. He told the story of a Vietnam War veteran who had spent his whole life serving his country only to find himself navigating a complicated and confusing healthcare system in his later years. With each story, Obama humanized the issues. These weren't just statistics. These were real people with real lives and real struggles. The audience, filled with seniors who had their own stories to tell, seemed to nod in agreement. They recognized the truth in his words. For them, it wasn't abstract or political. It was their reality. Obama knew that, and he made sure they knew he was on their side. At one point, Obama took a step back from the policy discussion and spoke more personally to the audience. I understand that many of you have worked hard all your lives, and now in your later years, you're finding that the systems in place to support you aren't working as they should. He said, you've earned a life of dignity, and I want to make sure you get it. It's not just a right, it's what you deserve. The room was quiet, not because of any dramatic pause, but because Obama had tapped into something that was universally understood. It wasn't about politics. It wasn't about party lines. It was about people. The crowd was leaning in, waiting for what would come next, knowing that Obama wasn't going to just talk about problems. He was going to speak about real solutions, about actions that could make a difference. And then, almost without warning, Obama began to talk about the future. He didn't paint a picture of despair. Instead, he focused on the hope of change. He spoke about working together to create a better healthcare system, one that wouldn't leave seniors behind. He promised that this was something he would continue to fight for no matter how difficult the road might be. His words weren't just about the past. They were about building a future where seniors could age with dignity and support, where the challenges they face could be addressed with compassion and respect. As Obama wrapped up this part of his speech, he made sure to reiterate the most important point. This wasn't just a problem for seniors, it was a problem for the country as a whole. When we take care of our seniors, we take care of the foundation of our society. He said, "This isn't just a policy issue. It's a human issue." The seniors in the audience sat quietly, some with tears in their eyes, others nodding in agreement. Obama's words had connected with them on a level deeper than politics. It was clear that he wasn't just giving a speech. He was speaking directly to their hearts. In that room, for a moment, it felt like the rest of the world had faded away. And the only thing that mattered was the shared understanding of what it meant to care for those who had given so much. It was at this point, as Obama reached the height of his speech, that the unexpected happened. A quiet interruption that no one in the room could have predicted. As Obama spoke about the struggles facing seniors, his voice steady and filled with empathy, there was an underlying sense of calm that seemed to resonate with everyone in the room. It was clear that the former president wasn't just addressing a crowd. He was talking to people who had lived through decades of change, people who had seen the highs and lows of life. His words had a kind of quiet power, like a steady hand on a shoulder offering comfort and support in uncertain times. It was a speech about unity, about working together to address the real pressing issues facing America's elderly population. And then, in the midst of this moment of connection and sincerity, came a sudden disruption, a sharp, unexpected break in the flow of the speech. It was Ivanka Trump's voice cutting through the room, her words interrupting Obama's carefully measured tone. "Everything you say sounds good, Barack, but let's be honest." Ivanka's voice rang out, her words striking like a sudden jolt. "The only place you belong is not here. Your place of birth. That's the real question." A murmur spread through the crowd, a collective tension rising as Ivanka's words hung in the air. For a moment, it seemed as though time slowed down. Obama paused, his words stilled in midair, and the audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Ivanka wasn't just questioning Obama's policies or political positions. She was directly attacking him on something deeply personal. The place of birth comment was a familiar political dig, one that had been used against Obama for years during his presidency. It was a sharp reminder of the so-called birther controversy that had dogged him since the beginning of his first campaign. Ivanka's smile was tight as she spoke, as though she were delivering a calculated jab. Her tone was not one of open debate or even concern for the issues Obama was discussing. It felt like something much more personal, an accusation, an attempt to undermine the credibility of a man who at that moment was trying to appeal to the very people Ivanka claimed to represent. She wasn't finished yet. With a flicker of confidence, Ivanka continued, her words turning more pointed and direct. "Seniors are happier now. Under our leadership, we're working with them every day. You, Barack, are just trying to divide this country." The room held its breath. It wasn't just an attack on Obama's legitimacy. It was a challenge to his motives, a claim that Obama wasn't working in the best interest of seniors, but was somehow sowing division among the American people. The words hit harder than most had expected. There was no question now that this wasn't a casual disagreement. It was a direct confrontation framed to unsettle Obama's message and shift the conversation. For those who had been listening intently to Obama's speech, the interruption was like a sudden jolt to the system. What I had started as a powerful discussion about health care and dignity for seniors had now shifted into something much more uncomfortable. The focus was no longer on the issues at hand. It was now about a political attack, an attempt to derail the conversation. As Ivanka's words hung in the air, the room seemed to hesitate. It was a moment of confusion for many. Were they supposed to laugh, agree, ignore it, and move on? The seniors in the audience had come to hear about their struggles, about the solutions that could make a real difference in their lives. But now, with Ivanka's challenge, the focus had shifted. The people who had been nodding along with Obama's message were now unsure about what was going to happen next. But even as Ivanka's words seemed to stir the room, Obama didn't flinch. His gaze remained steady, his posture unchanged. It was clear he wasn't about to let this derail what he had come to say. And yet, the disruption was something that couldn't be ignored. It was too direct, too public. Ivanka had made her challenge, and now Obama had to respond. The energy in the room shifted as if everyone was bracing for what was to come next. Ivanka had forced Obama into a position where he now had to address not just the policies he championed, but the personal attacks that had been leveled against him. Once again, this wasn't just a political debate anymore. It was a battle for dignity, for respect, and for the right to focus on the issues that truly mattered to the people who had gathered there. The question was, how would Obama handle it? Would he rise to the challenge, or would he let Ivanka's attack knock him off course? It was a moment of tension, a moment that no one in the room would forget. And as the room waited for Obama's response, one thing was clear. This wasn't going to be just another speech. It was about to become something much bigger. For a brief moment, the room was thick with silence. Ivanka Trump's words had cut through the air like a blade, leaving behind a tension that was palpable. The room full of seniors who had been hanging on to Obama's every word just moments before now shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some exchanged looks, others shifted their gaze, unsure of how to react. The atmosphere had changed from one of unity and shared purpose to one of uncertainty. But Obama didn't seem to be rattled. His face, which had been calm and empathetic just moments before, now held a quiet determination. He was used to the attacks. He had faced them all through his presidency. From the relentless questions about his birthplace to the personal jabs that seemed to come from every direction. He knew how to navigate the storm. But this was different. This wasn't just a political opponent or an angry protester. This was Ivanka Trump, the daughter of the sitting president, speaking directly to him in front of an audience of seniors who were hoping to hear about their struggles, not political games. Without skipping a beat, Obama turned slightly toward Ivanka, his voice steady, but carrying an undercurrent of resolve. To the seniors listening right now, you deserve honesty, he began, his eyes sweeping the room before resting back on Ivanka. I know the struggles you face. I'm here for you. His words were simple, but they held weight. The seniors in the room had come to hear about their problems. Rising health care costs, the uncertainty of retirement savings, the feeling of being left behind. Obama had connected with them on a human level, and he wasn't about to let the moment slip away into a political squabble. His message wasn't just about policy. It was about compassion.